Yeah, welcome to the latest School Night TV. It's been a little bit. You saw me reaching for this. Yeah, I got kombucha here and a Philadelphia roll, sushi from the grocery store. So I've got kombucha and sushi. And I don't know why I brought it out. I thought, I'm getting kind of hungry, and I was like, oh, if I get hungry, I'll just have this sushi here. But the reality is, like, am I really going to eat in front of the camera? To begin with, I'm not the kind of person who really wants anybody to watch me eat to begin with. Like if I go out to eat with somebody, I'm like, I really hope that they're not like looking up and glancing at me while I chew this. So I don't know why I brought this out, and it's kind of funny. I mean, I bought it because it was the cheapest sushi they had, and it's funny that it's a Philadelphia roll, and it looks like it has cream cheese in it. Uh, I don't like cream cheese, so I don't know. So clearly, I'd love to just sit here and eat cream cheese filled sushi in front of a camera. I don't think I'm going to do that. And especially because I'm the only one doing this. If I had somebody else here, it might be like I could kind of turn my head and sneak a bite of sushi. But the reality of just sitting here forcing. I mean, I'm lucky if anybody watches a video I do anyway. So it's like the idea of forcing those few people, those people that I'm fortunate enough to have watch this, forcing them to watch me eat sushi is kind of fucked. It's kind of fucked up. But I'll let you watch me drink kombucha. It's a little different. I don't know if it actually does anything for me. I first started drinking it because someone recommended. They were like, "Oh, this is good for your gut. This is good for your." I don't even know. I have stomach issues. A lot of them are my own doing, and I don't know if kombucha helps or does nothing. But I've learned to really enjoy it. At least certain brands. And this isn't me plugging anything, because you can probably tell what brand that is just from the bottle. But yeah, the reason actually I wanted to do a show tonight, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've done, I think, a proper one of these where I sit down with a mic. And I'm pretty happy with my current setup. I think this is going to be the setup I use if I do any kind of sit down videos like this again. But I was talking to a good friend of mine the other night, and he expressed to me that he really doesn't like the way we as people have gone. We're all, to use the phrase that he used, self-famous. We're these mini celebrities. We all have these accounts. We're taking pictures of everything we do in our lives. Of course, not everybody, but many people are. There's this we've created this new world within our world, and it's something I've talked about a lot. And it's not just one thing or another. It's not just, the internet, it's not just social media, but it's a lot of things. It's doing podcasts, there are a million ways to engage the world. There's a million ways to express yourself. And I used to feel the same way he did. I used to feel a lot more resentment at the fact that people are kind of putting themselves out there these days. But I've kind of dropped that. I've dropped that. The way I see it now, if the people are kind of becoming celebrities, their own little mini celebrities, if people are becoming self-famous, I like his phrase there, self-famous, self-famous. God, that almost sounded like something else I didn't want to say. But everybody's self-famous, but I think that's a good thing. And there's the classic like Marxist seizing the means of production. And I don't want to go into like Marxism or any of that stuff. I'm not qualified to talk about it, and I'm not going to condone it or smash it here. Smashing Marxism, wow. But what I will say is that that's what we as people are doing right now, is we are seizing the means of production. It used to be the way to, you couldn't have a video of yourself 50 years ago unless you were on film, unless you knew, unless you were basically a celebrity. People didn't get videoed. They didn't get taped unless they were somebody. And by that I mean a celebrity. And what we're seeing now is people rising from nothing. Like truly, someone in their room is making a video. Not me, but someone out there is actually achieving popularity just by being in their bedroom. YouTube celebrities are on the covers of like Teen Bop, Tiger Beat. Just go through fucking Walmart. And you'll find these magazines other places, but I recommend for the full immersive experience, just go to Walmart and walk through the magazine section and go to the little girls section. And if anybody asks you why you're looking, tell them I sent you. But go there and just look at like who is in the magazines. They're YouTube stars. They're these weird looking like kids who are YouTube stars, and they're the biggest stars in the country. And as annoying as their faces look and as much as there is wrong with it, it's also incredible. These kids have literally seized the means of production. And, with all these Hollywood scandals of sexual abuse coming out, which, imagine the stories decades ago. Imagine when people had even less of a public voice and these guys had even more power. So just imagine how it was decades ago. These are all recent scandals, or relatively recent. So just imagine how bad it was. And but anyway, what's amazing about people seizing the means of production when it comes to entertainment is that it cuts the Harvey Weinsteins out of the picture. It cuts these guys out of the picture. I'm not saying people still aren't susceptible to abuse, or there aren't situations where these people could be manipulated or coerced or something, but they don't have to go through the casting couch, because the fucking casting couch is just sitting in their bedroom making videos and getting views or whatever it is. That's all. I'm still not comfortable with that when the way that things are today. Things are measured in terms of views and likes, and like this got so many likes, and that's no matter what it is these days. Everything is set up with that system. YouTube videos, personal social media. It's everything is set up in this weird like click a button to approve of this or to acknowledge it in some way. And I'm still not totally comfortable with that system. I'm a long-winded guy, if you haven't picked up on that, so I'm kind of a comment guy, and it's kind of weird to me. The idea of just like acknowledging things, liking things, doing that kind of stuff. I don't know why this became the symbol for liking. Liking. Grows on trees. But yeah, what I'm getting at though is like the people becoming their own mini celebrities. It brings the stars down a little closer. And the stars are closer than ever. The stars are more engaged with their fans than ever. And people who otherwise would be mid-level celebrities have been elevated, and people who are the biggest celebrities have been brought down a little. And then the people who would just be the consumers, the people with dreams, the people who only ever dream of running away and being in the movies, those people now, even if it's just for their own narcissistic purposes, can do this kind of shit. They can engage the world, or if they're an entertainer, a musician, they have more means. It's not limited to one thing or another. You can make your own movies and publish them instantly. You can publish your own books online. You can publish, because now we're in the world of ebooks, you can publish your own book without any money. All you need is time and the desire to do it. You can publish your own book. I'm not saying anybody's going to care. We still need publishers and press, and very, very few things take off completely on their own in a vacuum. But it's amazing. Literally every form of art and entertainment is easier to make than it ever was. And the thing that sucks is that stuff from the past gets left behind, and that's something I struggle with. Like, records have made a big comeback, so records are easier to produce again, or there are companies where you can still get those made, people still buy them, but it's like, other things are just getting washed out. It's hard to buy an analog 4-track to record music on, and sure, it's got its limitations, but it also has its own color and sound that I don't need to go into. But the thing that sucks is you can't find that anymore. They're really hard to find because the people who want them really want them, and they buy them up. So things like that get left behind. The analog world gets left behind, but the good thing is we now have greater ability. I'm fucking holding this out here like a product placement. The good thing is that it's easier to do. It's easier to get your stuff out there. So you may have to record digitally, but it's easier to do it yourself, and you can record a 24-track symphony, if you really want to, and it's easy to do. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy to actually record that or write that, but if you want to do that, you can just sit down and download a program and buy maybe even a cheap mic and achieve something that's still pretty passable. So that's incredible. Uh, all of the things are becoming easier, and but with that, that comes a lot of resentment. Where kind of like my friend was talking about, it's like we see everybody, being self-famous. They're their own little celebrities. Look at my day. Look at what I saw. Look at what I did. Here's my opinion. I matter. Here's what I can do. Blah blah blah. That's what we see, and there's something about us as humans that resents that about our peers. And I would say if you resent that, really think about why you resent that. Because the cool thing about the stars getting lower and the people being their own little personal celebrities in their own private world is that there's an ant here. Oh God, it just sucks. It's almost winter and I still have ant problems. I just killed an ant on live. This isn't live. I just killed an ant on webcam. Live webcam. But what I was getting at before I committed a heinous act of murder. Next thing you know, I'll be eating this sushi right into the mic. But the nice thing about the people having greater ability to throw their shit out into the world, if nothing else, that's what they're doing. They're, like, to quote one of my favorite Black Sabbath lyrics, "Destruction of the empty spaces is my one and only crime." And I'll stand by that. I really feel that if all you're doing is destroying the empty spaces, if that's your only crime, you're doing all right. In my opinion, you're doing all right. But the resentment is what I was getting at, and think about why you resent your friends. Like, even just outside of whatever, if you think your friends are self-famous or whatever, outside of that, like, people resent their friends. It's part of friendship. You go through periods of resentment, and there's things about your friends that you don't always like. But it really has a lot to do with you and, your grounding in the world. And, true friendship means letting go of the little things that you resent. Even a relationship, a romantic relationship, there's a lot of resentment. I mean, that's basically, you're guaranteed to resent someone in that situation. And that's brutal because this is the person that, the whole situation is designed because you've made this like really intimate agreement. And I don't mean sex, but you've just made this intimate agreement to be people together. Even if it's just casual dating, that's still a very strange thing to commit to that. And when you take a step back and you're like, I'm doing this, like I'm in this situation. That's very bizarre. But that resentment builds, and you do have to assess why you're resenting something or what it is that you actually resent. And I would say in this world of social media, Instagram, Facebook seems antiquated. Facebook has kind of become, a lot of people, like the young kids don't create accounts, I don't think. I don't think like young kids who are coming up, I don't think they understand it. It's like they've had all these other apps that they came up with. So it's like Facebook might as well be like LiveJournal or something. But Facebook has kind of become antiquated in a way. It's almost become aging people, let's say this, people struggling with aging, getting really mad about things or showing pictures of their kids. That's basically all it's become. Because the generation that made it what it is are either realizing how powerless they are when it comes to politics and world affairs, and they have to have an outlet for it. So Facebook is a great one to rant about politics and all that, because everybody totally listens at this point. They totally read everything you write and every article you share. Or it's just become a way to show your kids, because once again, that generation have families, and they've had families for years, and it's a way to show people. There's nothing wrong with that, but my point being is it's not really on the cutting edge. It's not really very entertaining. I think that's the real issue, is it's not very entertaining, whereas it once was pretty entertaining to people. So what you have are these other outlets that are video-based, image-based, and, if you resent people using those things or whatever, that's fine. You're allowed to resent those, or if you're allowed to dislike them, those outlets and the way people express themselves. But what I will say is that... What will I say? What I will say is, if you resent your friends entertaining you, that's fine. And if they don't entertain you, that's fine. But what I mean by entertainment is think about how many people that you may or may not know, but who are just people. Just people. They don't have any particular celebrity status. Think about how many people entertain you than ever before. Think about how many of your peers say things and do things and just express their thoughts or creations and whatever random ass shit. And even if it's just mildly entertaining, think about how much better that is than like having to watch the same TV show with your parents, over and over again. Like reruns. Like I remember watching reruns of shows I didn't even like, and I'd seen the episode several times, but it was easier to just tune out and sit there through that than the alternative. But now we have this constant flow, this waterfall of even just things that are subtly entertaining, or even if they're not entertaining, they at least are just something to look at, something to read. And that's pretty incredible. And I think that comes along with in order to have that, I think you have to deal with a little bit of people's narcissism. You have to deal with a little bit of people's, desire to express themselves, which I know can be fucking annoying. I mean, self-expression is kind of a prison. I mean, every time I express myself in any way, even if I'm sitting in a room and I just say one thing, sometimes I'm like, should I have said that? And I think everybody thinks that way. And you extend that out into like things that are more permanent, like, an image or a post or a video. And that's kind of scary. Self-expression is scary in that way, especially in this world where there's a lot of arguing and people are splitting hairs more than ever. So it is kind of scary to express yourself when there's any potential for someone to criticize you, someone to come down on you, or even if they don't express it, even if it's not that direct, for someone to quietly resent you. Why would you want to put yourself up to that? Well, to entertain yourself. And if other people are entertained by that, cool too. Cool too. Cool too. That's the name of the sequel to, my first movie, Cool. Cool too. This time we're not so cool. I was going to say, this time we're cooler. No, I'm going to leave that one alone. Cool too. But, I don't have too much more to say on this. I should wind this down. I'm kind of losing my thoughts the longer I sit here. I got this awkwardly small table. I've had this table for a while. I didn't get it for this or anything, and it's very small, and I probably shouldn't lift this. But it's almost like a glorified TV tray. It's a sushi tray. This is my sushi tray. My kombucha and sushi tray. But Trey's also my name. Call me Trey. But yeah, no, I don't have too much more to say on that. But I think the stars are coming closer, and we're seeing stars get torn down with these Hollywood scandals, which is great. I don't think we should find pleasure in it. I don't think you should ever find pleasure in a witch hunt. Witch hunts are fucking awful and scary. But if you can bring the stars down, who deserve it, I think in the future there will be less. What's the word? There'll be less of an onslaught of this kind of thing. You won't have a ton of stars being brought down at once, because hopefully the system will even itself out. Hopefully, some parameters will be in place moving forward where this stuff gets nipped in the bud, and these scumbags have less of a desire to, there's a crazy voyeuristic pattern I've noticed with several of the more prominent celebrity things of the last few years. And Harvey Weinstein, I hate to go into it, but I think this is stuff that everybody's thinking about. Harvey Weinstein had a thing where he wanted women to watch him shower. He was really into having women watch him do various kind of simple things. I'm sure there was masturbation thrown in there. But he wanted to have people watch him. And that's something Louis C.K. wanted as well. He was very into having women watch him pleasure himself. And then another thing I heard on another podcast was that Bill Cosby, who of course his actual acts were different. It involved drugging and assaulting women. But something I had heard was that he used to make people watch him eat, which plays back into this. I can't believe I almost forced anybody who would watch this to watch me eat. But yeah, Bill Cosby backstage, he would have the crew, whoever was working backstage, all gather around him and just watch him eat by himself. And those three guys, all these powerful guys who were sexually abusing, manipulating, coercing, drugging, these people who were doing the exact thing you shouldn't do in their position. Literally, it's like you're doing the exact thing you shouldn't do. It's one thing to be a cutthroat businessman. It's one thing to be like, well, I'm a businessman and, sometimes my ethics get a little gray. But it's like if there's one thing that you should not do if you're in a position of power, especially in something like the entertainment industry, but why even limit it to that? Just say if you're in a position of power, the one thing you shouldn't do is use it as a tool to coerce women into doing what you want or forcing yourself onto them. And this isn't me being a good guy. I'm not a perfect guy. I'm a strange guy and I have my own issues, but it's the one thing you shouldn't do in power, yet we see it time and time again, almost like a drug kicks in. But I want to give them more credit than that. I want to give them more credit for their actions because it's not like a drug. It's not like they were in a trance. They knew exactly what they were doing. And I don't think that these guys would have gotten pulled down. I don't think their stars would have gotten yanked down if it weren't for the self-famous people. The self... I don't know. I don't have a much more eloquent way to put it than that. I just think that all of this is leading somewhere. And if people get their 15 likes of fame, you heard about the 15 minutes of fame. Well, now we're in the age of the 15 likes of fame. So be it. If that means these other things are going to kind of fall into place, it won't fix everything. But I think there's a level of transparency that's going on. And maybe people should be proud of their lives. We grind through our lives. We literally grind through school, work, obligations, social obligations we don't want to do. There are so many things we don't want to do. So if we want to put ourselves out there a little bit, add a little transparency to our own lives, create a little something in our own brains that makes us feel important, and the result is that we're making our own entertainment. The people who were previously running that shit and abusing people and coercing people and raping people, if they're being brought down a notch, or hopefully many notches, depending on what kind of people they are, hey man, that's a trade-off that I can live with. I can absolutely live with that trade-off, even if it means everybody has a fucking ego or everybody has some shtick or there's that whole idea of the brand, people, something really, idiotic that people say is my brand. And it's not somebody who has a company that they're branding. It's somebody who's talking about themselves. And that's always kind of funny. But still, if that's the trade-off, if the trade-off is that fucking idiot from your high school is marketing his brand to you 12 years later after you haven't talked to him in a decade, but it means that the playing field for being a human is leveled out even a little bit. To me, that is an okay trade-off. Now I'm going to eat some sushi, but you're not going to watch me, no matter how much you want to.